this is Tai-Pan for Shanzai.com, and here today we're looking at the Kinpad I600 tablet. And the Kinpad I600 tablet is kind of an interesting tablet in the sense that it's... Oh, excuse me there, I'm getting a phone call. Wait, Nizai Nali. If you can't hear that in the background, that's the sound of my phone actually connecting to the cameraman's phone, and you can hear his my voice echoing back and forth between the two telephones. That's because the Kinpad, let me just hang up here for a second. Bye. That's because the Kinpad acts and functions as a telephone, including baseband for connecting through your SIM card, as well as providing a 3G data connectivity to the internet. So it goes a little bit step further than some of your typical tablets. The cool thing about phone functionality for the device is it's the first time that we've seen it in a 7-inch form factor. And especially from the Shanzai guys, it is quite a bit of a creative way to get 3G data connectivity and the telephone version into a tablet form factor. Now, I'm not sure everybody's going to be too keen about pulling a 7-inch device up to the side of their head when they're answering the phone, and maybe it probably won't replace your phone. But here in Asia, where you can take your, and some other countries where you can take your SIM card and pop it out of your phone and into your tablet, it's great for having that 3G connectivity when you're not near a Wi-Fi hotspot. So beyond the cool phone functions for the Kinpad, actually they bring a lot more to the table as well. They've got a 7-inch form factor device with a nice responsive capacitive screen. It's very good for viewing quality and of course for responsiveness to the touch, as you've just seen there. On the actual front panel of the device, they've got some of their buttons for you. You've got your home, menu, and back button that are typical to your 3 buttons for your Android implementation, but they've also included the 4th search button, which you're finding now on more and more of the high-end mobile phones as well. And then there's a button here similar to the iPad for sort of a home screen or enter into your settings button. So it's actually kind of got a lot of the functionality right here up front where you need it, and it's actually quite good for in your hand when you're using the device to be typing away and then just get over to your function. So it's quite good that they're visible and very usable. On the left side of the screen, you'll find over here there is a web camera, and it's a pretty decent web camera, as we'll see in a few minutes, but it's also got a little pinhole here that looks like it's got a light sensor. Now, I haven't noticed that that's affected the web camera performance or any. It's a fairly typical web camera experience, so I'm not sure what that is, but I think it's a light sensor. Looking around the top end of the hardware, you've got a few more interesting slots that you don't normally find on every tablet. We've got the SIM card slot here, where my SIM card's tucked inside of there, and underneath here we've got your micro SD cards reader. And then over here you've got a plus and up and down button for your volume. Now this is sort of more typical of a phone layout than it is for all the tablets, although some of them do have it. And it's great because of course you can adjust your ringtone volume and things like that, but you can also adjust your media playback volumes and whatnot while you're in them. So it's kind of nice to have a physical button for that. There's also a lock button here, which I think locks your positioning for when you're doing the accelerometer is in effect, so you can lock it into a particular mode. And I think that's kind of a cool option. There's a dedicated power button. There's a little rubber nub here that looks like a foot for the device almost, but it's actually it's filling a hole where there was probably a stylus at some point to be included in there, but it's not anymore. Over here a little further we've got your headphone connectivity, and then a little bit further down the device you've got where your speaker ports are coming out. So I think if you'd heard from our ringtone earlier, or maybe when we play some of the videos for you in a few moments, you'll see there's actually pretty good volume on this in terms of speaker quality. Down finally along the other side of the device in the last corner here, we've got a couple of screw holes, so it looks like you actually could, if you had a small enough screwdriver, get in there and tinker with the device yourself if you're so inclined. And there's also a connectivity port. It's not proprietary, but it's one of those, I don't think it is it a 56-pin USB connection from the outside. Now, this is, I think, one of the slight limitations on the device. It would have been nicer to see a true USB or even mini USB connectivity going right into the device rather than having to use the docking connection through the I/O port here. On the back of the device, there's nothing much going on, although it's a nice white exterior. It kind of hides the fingerprints a little bit because of the whiteness, but it's a shiny unibody design, so it's quite good for that. And it also has got a lovely little Google Android 2.2 OS writing on the back. I don't know if you can see that well on the camera or not, but that's what you get for the hardware on the Kinpad. Taking a look at the internal guts of the device, we're looking at a Freescale processor, ARM7, 800 megahertz, That also includes some baseband architecture so that it can make the phone calls. I'm not really sure, but that might be what the Swan board here is. It's listed in the hardware spec there. One of the other interesting things about the device is it also includes AMD graphics as part of the GPU, OpenGPL spec. I didn't really know what that was myself. I had no idea that AMD was even in mobile phones or any of that kind of technology. I looked it up on the web, and it looks like in 2007 or so that Freescale and AMD did some kind of deal where they were licensing AMD's technology. One of the other interesting things while we're here looking at the screen of the device, I guess I should point up in the top, you've got some of your typical stuff with your battery life going on up there and your time spent, but you can also see the phone functionalities there. You've got your Wi-Fi connectivity and of course your little bars in there. Looks like we're picking up 3 out of 4 bars right now here. And over on the further side I've got my Task Killer app up there, but I've also got, a missed call. I guess I better pay attention when I'm fooling around with my tablet. And then there's the Android app market icon up there as well. So that tells you something interesting that the device, maybe because it's got the phone spec built into the device, it also includes the Android app market out of the box. So while we're looking at the device closely, let's take a look at the telephone side of things. Here's a very basic phone pad, just dialing interface, typical call logs, various functionality that you find with your contacts and whatnot for the typical telephone device that you'll find in the Android world. Accelerometer works on the device even in this particular mode, so depending how you like to dial things up, you can go either way. It's quite responsive in that sense. And the messaging interface is pretty bare bones as well. In the settings for the phone functionality, we can set up your ringtones and whatnot as you would on any of your typical phone setup. It's not quite the beautiful ringtones that I found on an HTC Desire that I play around with, but here's a few samples for you. That's sort of some kind of freaked out DJ action there. Actually, some of those aren't so bad. Anyway, those you can see from the speaker quality as well, it's quite clear and loud, so you won't be missing too many calls on your 7-inch tablet as you've got it jammed in your back pocket. So beyond the phone functions of the device, which are quite good, the Kinpad also has the capacitive touchscreen and Android 2.2 operating system. Both of those come together to be very nice performance, especially with the Freescale processing power inside when it comes to applications like video. Pulling up our video list here using the cool iris effect that they've got going on. Let's see what we've got for you inside of our video. Oh, it looks like our Booth Babe videos. Let's try watching that in the movies gallery here. And what you're looking at is, let's turn up the media volume. That's a 1080p version of our Booth Babe video. Now, this is one of the first devices we've seen that didn't have Tegra inside, that was able to play smooth playback, good audio, and full version of our Booth Babe video at 1080p. So that's great to see. What's missing on the device, though, unfortunately, is there is no HDMI out to bring that great 1080p viewing experience to the bigger screen. Priced at $399 at various places on the internet. I think the Kinpad packs a lot into the package. It includes also the front-facing web camera, which we've talked about before is one of the things we'd like to see on the devices coming out now. It's got the camera here settings that it's got now. It's typical performance of most of the Shenzai cameras on the tablets we've seen. Not special or worse than any of those, but one thing is it also does flip over and actually shoot some video. So you can record video on the device, which some of the other tablets that we have reviewed weren't able to do that part of the functionality of the camera. The Freescale processor for browsing speed and functionality seems to be typical, if not better, slightly than a lot of the different tablets and things that we reviewed. The capacitive screen makes for a nice pinching and zooming while surfing around the sites and taking a look at the content more closely. So that's kind of a nice bonus that goes with the device. So wrapping things up for the Kinpad I600, I have to say they packed a lot into this device, and they packed a lot of good things into the device in terms of a great screen quality, a little bit bigger battery with a 4200 milliamp hour battery size, which may be necessary for the capacitive screen performance to keep that going for as long as the other tablets typically do. The video playback's excellent, and they've included the phone and 3G connectivity, so you have to give them major kudos for that. little bit disappointed that the connectivity options aren't better. You can get your USB out and in and power through the docking connectors that they provided, but it would have been nice to see some a USB connection directly onto the device itself. The design-wise and build quality is very good. Priced at $399, as I mentioned before, I think you get a lot for what you pay for. You're probably almost approaching into the maybe Dell Streak or Samsung Galaxy territory in terms of functionality, and quality wise you're looking at probably not quite as polished an experience as those products would be, but again, those products are going to be coming to you for a far more expensive price. People who are able to port a SIM card into the device will get most of the functionality out of it, and a lot more than those who aren't able to, obviously. So for those of you who got that ability, I think you might want to consider seriously the Kinpad I600.